Hi, everyone. This is just a quick video going over some tests for the school review exercise that we did to walk through reading the tests and writing a short test to see how it works. Just as a friendly reminder, this is the school interface exercise for viewing and listing students. I've created a tests directory with double underscores for some consistency in directory structure naming. I've created some test files in here that we'll see shortly. And we had our school, our staff, our student, and our user classes, and the main runner.py. In order to import the program, what I have done is I've wrapped the runner.py main program in a function named main method with the while loop in there, which I won't walk through as that's what we did in our review, but that's what I import here that allows me to run the program. That should have zero impact on when you're working on the assessment and reading tests, but just for context. And let's walk through this test and run the program together at the same time. So to run the tests, I run PyTest to run all the tests. And this test lists all students. We pass in these PyTest libraries, monkeypatch and capsys, that are used to capture output from the command line and fake putting command line input in, which is what monkey patching is called. And this here is an iterator, and we have a list, and these are the things I'm going to put in on the command line to run my program. So if I run my program, my first input is going to be 2. We see that right here. And then I want to view an individual student, so I input their ID 13345, and we see that here. And then specific to our school interface, because it's a loop, I actually need to quit the program. Otherwise, the test will throw an error because my program never quits. So I input 6. And these are in an array. And this iter turns it into something called an iterator or a sequence, so that when we feed it into monkeypatch can go through each one. And what we're doing here is we're telling monkeypatch, hey, hook into the shell, the terminal, the command line, hook into its built-in input. And we're going to use a lambda function to tell it what input to do. And note this command next that goes through our iterator, one after the other. And it goes through this list of, or this iterable of input files. So it will move through our list one by one, and monkeypatch inputs each one when we run the main method. So monkeypatch has hooked in to the built-in command line input and is feeding those inputs into our main method. And here we capture the output. This returns both the output that we see on the command line on the terminal, and there's sort of a special separate way of outputting errors, which we don't have to worry about, but it captures that as well. And this is a tuple. And here is an assertion to test that the output is correct. And we can see that I'm expecting to see information on one student. Note the /n here in the string, which is a special character indicating a new line or end of line, and the quitting program command that we see here. So getting this correct can be quite finicky. Note that if I change this, the test will fail. And what is particularly tricky is note that I don't actually see it. It's very hard here. It's tricky here to tell what the problem is. So a good trick is to use Python's repr method, actually, as a student was demonstrating to the other day. Not done to repr, but we're going to print out that representation. And let's actually print out on the top the actual output of the program. And let's print out below that what we think the output should be. So actually, I need to copy all of this, and we're going to paste it in here. And I just need to fix my parentheses very quickly. And so now we should get repr will print out things like /n. So we'll get the complete string representation of each, and we can look at the difference between the two when we run PyTest again. And here is that first print repr statement of the actual output. And we can see here there's that /n at the end. And here is the second one of what I was expecting to see, but it wasn't there. And so in fact, if we add now the /n where it needs to be in the test, and you all should not be modifying tests for the assessment. I am doing this now just for demonstration purposes. If you need to maybe add some print statements like this inside a test to help you debug, that's totally fine. It won't break anything. Just be sure to comment it out when you're all done. But you should not be modifying the actual test code. I did that here now just to demonstrate. And so now if we run this, fingers crossed, it should run correctly. And let's maybe just build one more test together to kind of talk through this in action. And I actually have this built out partially here. And let's walk through what we're doing. We want to remove a student. And I'm going to run the program again to remind me what those steps are. Well, the first option is to remove a student. And here again, we see we have the list of commands that monkeypatch will actually feed in to our program when it runs. So monkeypatch is doing the command line's job, right, and simulating it for our program. And so it feeds it 4. And then it feeds it the student ID 13345. And then we see printed out an updated list of all the students, and this message update student list. And again, if I don't actually quit the program, the test will throw an error. So I'm going to go ahead and quit because the test will keep trying to do stuff, but the program is still in the loop. And again, what monkeypatch is doing here is we've hooked into the built-ins of the shell or the terminal, properly the shell, and we are iterating through this iterator and going from one to the next. And monkeypatch calls this Lambda function each time until this iterator is empty. And it waits to do that till we run the main method. And then when our program is looking for command line input, monkeypatch does its job. And this right here will, when our program runs, actually capture that output. So again, let's write this test together. And in fact, what I'm going to do is let's print the actual output using that repr method so we can see it. And I'm going to make a guess as to what the correct output should be. And let's use this here to construct a string, and it probably should look something like this, updated student list. So let's just paste that in. And as we saw, there are special characters like new lines, that /n that can cause problems because they don't show up in the terminal because the terminal just makes a new line. So we are going to have to add some new lines. Let's just compare the two. And I'm going to add an assertion here, just something that I know is going to fail, just so that we get a failure. So we can see these two compared. So I knew this was going to fail. This can be useful. As you can see, if you only have a little bit of a difference here, it's relatively easy to read. These print statements, you have to read it carefully, but it's much more useful. And up at the top here, I see the actual output printed out with all special characters shown, including this /n here. And I see, hey, I'm missing that here. And I see one at the end, and I'm missing this message quitting program. So let's update this correct output variable to have those things. We need the /n in the right spot, and I need to make sure there's no space because that's that would not make, the strings would actually be different if there's just one space different. And at the end of this, I do need another /n, and we'll say quitting program and /n. And let's actually make this a proper assertion. Really, we need to compare the actual output that we capture to what we think the correct output will be. And now let's run PyTest and see what happens. And now our test passes. Again, make sure if you add print statements like this inside a test to help them debug, you comment them out when you're done. Hopefully this is helpful. Again, on the assessment, you should not be modifying the actual logic of any tests. So hopefully this is helpful in seeing how these sort of tests work. Thank you.